Hey, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, from wherever you're watching from. This is Ben with I'm Not Licensed. It's been a little while since been on here. Trying to think of some different things to talk about. Life kind of just gets in the way of wanting to do this whole YouTube thing, but it also creates content in the interim of you know the ability to be able to get on here and do things. Obviously, I look like I just woke up, but it's not quite the case. I've already washed 3 dogs and cleaned the lawnmower deck, made the bed, took out the trash, put away the dishes, played a little bit of PlayStation, did a little bit of work. But I mean, I guess for today's video, I think I was kind of like torn between the honey-do list, right? So what's the difference between the honey-do list for a guy versus the honey-do list for a girl, right? Girl, woman, whatever you want to call it. So it's interesting, right? Because I believe that, in my opinion, our honey-do list is pretty short. Like, for as far as for like what we think that women should have to do. So in my particular case, this is what I do. My particular case consists of doing a lot of the domestic shit around the house because my girlfriend's son doesn't do shit. She doesn't ask him to do shit, and I don't think she's ever going to. The kid is never going to learn how to have any responsibility in his life outside of going to school and maybe getting a job. But as far as like domestic stuff, he has no forward thinking. He doesn't think for himself. He can't figure out things. He has no common sense. He just doesn't think for himself. And therefore, she also doesn't make him do anything. She doesn't give him a list. He doesn't have a list of chores outside of doing the lawn once a week. He does empty the dishwasher once a week, takes out the trash when Haley's Comet comes around. So that leaves me as an adult to what? Pick up the slack, help her out, do everything. I personally am self-employed, so I get to do a lot of work from home / from my phone. So I have that luxury. Obviously I can't go drive a boat from from my phone. So I have to obviously go do that. However, when it comes to like the rest of work, I've got a couple of really, really good divers that I work with, so they're able to competently take care of a majority of the boats that I have work and whatnot. So that's really, really great. It affords me the ability to be able to do this. I don't live a very lavish life. I don't have a big fat bank account. I don't have a lot of money in my bank account. I'm like that rich guy. As a matter of fact, I live pretty cheap based on that reasoning, because I don't have a whole lot of boats. I don't do a lot of work outside of that. So therefore, I just choose to live this way. What it does do is it affords me the ability to be able to live here and help her out in the sense of, doing shit around the house, taking out the garbage, doing the dishes, weed whacking, edging, clean the pool here and there when it needs to be done, give the dogs baths, make the bed in the morning. I mean, I get up at the same time she gets up. I get out of bed when she gets out of bed. So we're out of bed at the same time. So it's not like I have to do it. I mean, I'm sure I could just put it right back on her. As a matter of fact, I could put all of this on her and just kick my feet up and be like one of those deadbeat boyfriends that doesn't do jack shit. But that's just not in my fiber. Being almost 50 years old, I think that, I am ingrained a little bit differently than today's generation. I don't personally agree with it, but it's the way that she is. It's the way that she chooses to be. She chooses to baby this kid, and she chooses not to make him do anything. And therefore, he, on top of that, chooses not to do any of that shit on his own. So it's basically an enabling situation all in one. So here I am, right? I help her out. I do everything. When it comes down to being home at 5:30 at night, when she's done at work, she comes home. I'm sitting there at the bar waiting for her to come home so she can tell me all about her day. And You know, so she tells me about her day while she cooks because, you know, there's a level of expectation here, you know. The expectation is I've got to have dinner on the table by 6 to 6:30, not because of my expectation by any means whatsoever, because if it was up to me, things would be a little bit different when she got home from work. But it's not my house. It's not the way I would run it. It's not the way I run it. She doesn't listen to my advice. She doesn't listen to my opinion. She doesn't give a shit about any of it. She flat out has said, I don't care about your opinion of my life. I'm going to live it the way I want to, and if you don't like it, that's on you. Fair enough. You know, you're an adult just like anybody else, and one of these days, you know, when you're living at home and you've got your 4 dogs and you're all by yourself because your kid has gone off to potentially maybe live by himself, or maybe he doesn't, maybe he lives with you, and, you know, you now no longer have somebody on the other half of your bed or waiting for you at home when you get home from work to enjoy your free time with. You know, we've been doing a lot of hiking and whatnot on the weekends, usually once if not twice a weekend, so that's kind of nice to be able to go out there and do that. But outside of that, like, there is no expectation, or is there any, you know, opportunity for a relationship. Like, the kid comes out of his room about 6 o'clock every day, pretty close to without fail, expecting to be fed, goes back in his room, only comes out to feed and go to the bathroom. So we started making a joke about the whole honey-do list, right? Oh, honey-do list, honey-do that, you know, like, fix the bathroom, fix the toilet. You know, the toilet guts needed to be replaced, so I fixed those. They needed a toilet seat in the kids' bathroom, fix that. You know, do the extra yard work outside of just mowing the lawn. You know, the domestic stuff, vacuum the entire house. I mean, 4 dogs creates a lot of hair on the floor. So, you know, but now we've gotten to the point to where now there's a honey-do list, but it's not like a written thing. It's more like a, hey, you know, can you get this done today, or can you do this, or can you do that, or whatever. Now, I will say this. She does give me shit if I don't get it done. So I'm like, okay, so I'm 49 years old. I don't need someone to micromanage me, right? If you want to micromanage somebody, micromanage your lazy 17-year-old son. How about that? Make him do something. Make him get off of his ass. There's 4 dogs here. Make him walk all 4 of them. No, can't do that. I can't ask him to do a fucking thing around the house. So she doesn't. And I'm like, okay. But yet, in the same sentence, you'll turn around and say, by the way, can you get this done today, or can you do this, or can you do that? Now, I could fight it, but I mean, like, why? For what? What am I going to gain out of it, right? First and foremost. Secondly, the purpose of fighting something like that is like futile, because, you know, all you're going to do is create animosity and resentment, and then you're only ultimately going to make more work for her, right? So you're either a partnership or you're not. You know, you're either willing to put in the extra work or you're not. And if you're not willing to do it, then why are you in a relationship, right? You know, I don't expect to be the slave of the house, that's for sure. I certainly don't expect her to be the slave of the house, and I don't feel like she is at the time. Now, when I first met her, she was absolutely, unequivocally the house slave, did everything. So when it comes to honey-do lists, right? What's the honey-do list that a guy would have, right? Stereotypical one. Oh, feed us, fuck us, and don't give us any shit. Something along those lines, right? Like, we're just such simple creatures, right? We really just don't need a lot. You know, I'm very thankful she does my laundry for me every week, which is great. I appreciate that. Doesn't have to, but she does, and I appreciate it. She cooks every day. I really appreciate that, because I'm not a very good cook. I cook for substance, and I'm not the guy that's going to go out there and do some, like, extra creative, you know, food, meal, whatever. So if you want something good, probably going to want to cook it yourself, because it ain't going to be me, right? So, like I said, when it comes down to our list, or guys' list, it could be anything from mow the lawn, take out the trash, fix the toilet, vacuum the floor, you know, pressure wash the pool deck, take care of the wasps. You know, Florida's famous for wasps. Take care of the wasps' nest, right? The kid found wasps flying around by the garbage can. You think he could handle it? You think he could just find them and spray them? No, no, that would be too much. Let me just tell my mom and let her figure it out. Let me tell her so she can do it. You know, and I can't really blame the generation, right? Because I have a 19-year-old, and she used to be fairly lazy, and she was like a little bit of a slob in her room and in her car, but she's since grown up. She's now in the military. She lives the military life. She definitely has her shit together, and she's not that kid anymore. She's lived it, she's learned it, and then she's moved on. But the downside with the kids nowadays is they don't fucking learn. They don't have to because their parents wipe their ass for them every day, right? So the honey-do list, right? So what do you have your kids do? Well, what I like to do is I like to ask the kids as friends when they come over. And it's really only the daughter's friends because the son doesn't have any friends that come over to the house. Probably because of me. Fine by me, I don't care. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I mean, as old as I am, not going to happen. But, you know, so I ask the girls when they come over, like, hey, what do you do at home? They're like, oh, yeah, we have to clean our room. We have to do our laundry. We have to clean up our dishes. We have to do this. We have chores. And I just look at the daughter and I'm like, they have chores, like actual chores that they have to do. It's crazy. I look at the mom, the same thing. Those kids have chores. They have responsibility around their house. And the most pathetic answer you could ever pull out of your ass is what? Well, this is the life that I choose to live. I choose to drag my kids through life and not make them accountable or responsible for anything. So that way when it comes time to, should they ever move up and out of the house, they're not going to know what the fuck to do. So back to the whole honey-do list thing, right? Like, okay, like I appreciate the laundry thing. Yes, I appreciate dinner. But most days I usually do the dishes, and we have a dishwasher, and she loves to fill the damn thing up, and I don't really know why. There's only 3, if not 4 people at the end of the day that actually eat here. So if you can't hand wash 4 people's dishes, now I'm not saying that you could hand wash them every single day. I mean, some days, yeah, you want to just use the dishwasher. You're like, fuck it, I don't want to do this. I would just much rather put them in the dishwasher and run it, and then I'll empty it. So that's not really that big of a deal as far as like the dishes go. I mean, you're talking about, you know, you do the dishes, you take out the trash, you vacuum the floor, you put the garbage cans out on the curb, you bring the garbage cans back, you bring in the mail, you bring in the packages, you walk the dogs, you know, you spruce up the pool here and there if it's bad, you know, you pressure wash the pool deck, you take care of all the spider webs when they need to be done. I mean, there's an absolute laundry list of shit that men have on their plates. And when it comes time to pay up on the female end of it, it's like, I think that we're still a little slighted here, you know? Like, I don't understand why sex is such a hard thing nowadays. Like, why is it such a hard thing? Why is it that I have to kind of almost like play this game and this like begging game or this like asking game or like why is it that I have to ask over and over and over again, right? One of the things that we talked about was, she says, oh, well, you know, if sex is such an important part of our relationship to you, then why don't we have more of it? I said, because it's my responsibility to make it known that that's what I'm looking for and that's what I want, and it's your job to make it available. Case in point, right? If you come home at 5 o'clock, you walk in the door at say 5:20, you've changed into your night clothes by 5:25, you walk straight out into the kitchen and get right behind the stove and start cooking, so that way you can please the kids by 6 o'clock, and then the dishes can be done by 7, or 7:30 or whatever the case is, whatever time dinner's done and all that stuff. And then now you want to sit down and watch some TV. Well, then when you want to go to bed, and then it's like you want to start snoring as soon as your head hits the pillow. So then I'm like, okay, well then in the morning you have this ritual of things that you do on a regular basis. So then you explain to me, when is it time for you to do your honey-do list? Right? And that's the whole moral of this entire video, right? When does the honey-do list finally come around to reciprocation? It doesn't. Like people think that it's, like the house is the woman's domain and she's just supposed to do everything in the house. Well, sometimes the roles are reversed. And if that's the case, well then, okay, then where's the reward system for that, right? We're adults. I mean, let's face it. We do expect a result or rewards for our actions. It's not like we do it on purpose. I mean, let's face it. If you did all of your adult shit on your honey-do list every single day, and it was done all the time, and it was constantly being whittled down to nothing, only to be refilled the next day or the next day or the next day or whatever the case is, or whether it's once a week or whatnot, and you're constantly just beating that list down to nothing, right? And then there's no reward outside of what? Happy wife, happy life bullshit? Pfft, get out of here with that. I mean, can we stop using that bullshit cliche? Because, and I'll tell you why we need to stop using that bullshit cliche, is because women then use it as a tool. They use it as a manipulation tool to say, oh, well, I need you to do a little extra this or a little extra that, or why can't you do this or why can't you do that? I want this and I want that. And it's like, okay. So then it ends up becoming a pissing match, right? At the end of it all, it's a pissing match, and you never win. We never win. And that kind of goes back to the whole entire beginning of this video channel thing that I've started. Was I'm not a licensed therapist by any means. It would be kind of cool, I think, but maybe not. But it's mostly for things from a man's perspective, right? Because I'm a man, have been for 49 years, almost 50 now. I'll be 50 in October. God, it's hot as shit out here, as you can tell. That's why I'm shirtless. So, if it gains me likes and subscribers, and so be it. No, just kidding. But, it's, this all came to a head when I got divorced, right? So the whole culmination of this idea was like how it is as life as a man, because there are a lot of pages out there that are man-based and that have men's health and men's this and men's that. But again, I'm not licensed, so I really can't go that whole men's health route. But if I look at it from the perspective of just an everyday guy, right? What do we go through? What do we put up with? What do we get in exchange? What do we have to offer? What do we bring to the table? How do we leverage our skill set for the things that we want? How is it that we go about getting the things that we want? And why is it not a reciprocal thing? I mean, granted, there are a lot of really, really good relationships out there, and I follow some women as well that actually speak out on men's behalf for their blue collar husbands and whatnot, and they're really, really good channels. One of them is, God, I can't remember it off the top of my head. The Blue Collar Wife or something. Pretty blonde girl. She hits nails on the head all the time, and she does. She puts it out there from a woman's perspective, but in the support role of a man. And I'm not all about that gender role thing, and I'm not a chauvinist or any of that stuff by any means. I don't expect her to come home and just drop trow at the door and just expect me to just have my way with her, and then when I'm done, then she can go about doing her womanly things. I'm an adult. I'm a human being just like everybody else. So when it comes to trying to give you your space You know, that's probably one of the reasons why I go without as often as I do, because I don't want to come across as that asshole that's constantly like, Jesus, all you want to do is have sex with me. It's like, well, I think that after we get to the point to where it's no longer been a day, or it's no longer been a couple of days, and now we're moving into the few days, yeah, I'm probably not going to be in a very good mood. I'm probably not going to be very nice. And it all could have been avoided had you just done your part of the honey-do list. I mean, at my age and my physical prowess, if you will, it's not like I'm out there having, you know, marathon sex by any means. So what's the problem? I mean, you ask me to do shit, I get it done. I ask you to do shit, then I wait. And I wait some more. And I wait some more. So from a guy's perspective, I'm sure there's plenty more out there on the other side of this camera that say the same thing. You know, they're like, man, you know what? You're absolutely right. I go out to the garage, I mow the lawn, I clean the boat, I take out the trash, I do this, I do that. Like, I do all these things. And then, you know, and your wife and your spouse, your partner, whatnot, probably does a lot of stuff as well. But then when you look at like the differences between the honey-do list and the honey-do list, the honey-do for him, the honey-do for her, and then the honey-do for them, huge difference. Huge difference. Is it fair? Is it equal? No. Do women want their equality? Yes. Are we at that point? No. So, I mean, where do we go from here? Like, how do we bridge that gap? You know, I'm not, like I said, looking to be, you know, the ruler by any means, but I mean, come on. What's the problem? Why can't we have reciprocation? You know, in my case, unfortunately, my girlfriend is one of them strong-minded broads. So what she says is, well, I wouldn't miss you if you were gone. Like, I could do without you. You're here because I want you here, not because I need you here. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'll just go back to living for my kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need you around. And it's like, oh my God. Like, I get it. Yes, you've told me before. It doesn't matter. You know, like, you could leave tomorrow and you'll just go right back to the way that you were. And I get that. Like, some people are like that. But, you know, at some point you want them to sit back and listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth, actually process them from a subjective standpoint, and think to themselves like, maybe he's got a point. Maybe. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's full of shit. I don't know. But maybe he's got a point that I should probably just listen to, maybe entertain. Maybe it is something that I'm not seeing. Maybe it's something that he's seeing. Or from her perspective, maybe it's like, maybe he brings something up and I see something else. And it's like, you know, and then at that point, you know, from a couple, you should be able to grow. You should be able to learn. I should be able to tell you the things that are on my mind, and you should listen to them, and then we should be able to have some conversation about it, and then we can either take away from it as he's greedy, she's greedy, this, that, or the other thing, or, you know, we take away from it as, hey, you know what, might have made a point. Maybe I could work a little bit harder on some things and work not as hard on others. Yeah. I mean, one of my biggest things with her, go in the bedroom and take off your fucking shoes when you come home from work. It sounds stupid, but it's not, because if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't do it. She would come home, she would drop her shit on the dining room table, and she would go straight to the refrigerator, get the food out, and start cooking. And then continue to cook, and then eat dinner, and then clean up, and then change into her night clothes into relaxation mode, right? Well, why can't you start relaxing from the time that you get home? Oh, well, I gotta feed my kids. Well, your kids aren't gonna fucking starve. I've said this before. I've said this probably on many videos. I always get diverted all the way back to this because it's so right here in the front of my fucking brain that it's one of those things that just fucking nags you to death. And that's going to be another video that I'm going to come out with, which is, you know, how long is long enough? How long is too long? How long do you give something before you just throw in the towel? That'll be the next one. But in the meantime, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. The dogs are panting uncontrollably because, you know, one is not used to being outside. The other one, he doesn't care, but he'll be happy when he gets inside. I'm sweating my ass off. I need to go shower after washing 3 dogs. And so with that being said, thank you all for listening. Anybody that does listen, if you have any comments, feel free to let me know. If you think I'm full of shit, you know, what's your honeydew list look like? Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? Is it 90-10? You know, what is it? What is it? What does it mean to you at the end of your video or at the end of your day, you know, when, you know, she or he hits you with, hey, by the way, can you do this? Hey, by the way, can you do that? Can you do this on top of that? Hey, when you're done with your work day, can you do this or that or the other thing? And just, you know, look and see it like, hey, you know what? Maybe it is something that you want to sit down with your partner and you want to have a conversation with and say, you know what? Hey, something's not right here. Our lists are not 50-50. I don't feel like our lists are 50-50. Sorry. That was one of the things that I learned from my therapist friend. I feel, it's not you, because if you do the you thing, then you're basically pointing fingers, and you don't want to point fingers because it's not really about them, because they may not even know that they're doing it. So it's like, I feel like this. I feel like that. I feel like I tend to be doing more around the house, and I don't feel like I tend to be getting as much in return. Whether you use rewards or not, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not licensed, so don't take my verbiage to the bank. That's for damn sure. Because if it was up to me, I'd probably speak a little bit louder and a little bit sterner to a lot more people. But I've learned to like dial it down a lot because, well, you know, people are soft these days. They can't handle it. Can't handle being talked to like they need to be talked to. You gotta put on the Mickey Mouse gloves, pat them on the ass, tell them it's gonna be okay. Please go take out the trash. Please empty your garbage in your bathroom. Please clean your bathroom. Like, when did we go from like just having a list of chores to having to beg for everything? Fuck. So anyways, with that being said, like I said, I'm gonna go get out of here. I'm gonna go take a shower now that I've just been showered in sweat, and I'm gonna come out with that other video here shortly about the whole how long do you give something before it's just too long. You know, how much effort do you put in before you realize that you're putting in too much effort and you're not getting enough in return? How much of your time and your life do you give away to somebody who's not interested in reciprocating? So, anyways, I'm Ben. I'm not licensed. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, about 20 and a half minutes or so, you know, like, comment, subscribe, whatnot, share the video. Appreciate you watching for sure. Just go from there and, you know, just keep on doing these videos. I mean, they're good and they're therapeutic for me as well because I get to vent. So have a good day. Hydrate. Tell somebody you love them.